Hey guys, welcome to the last episode of overhauling this GT6 transmission. So in the last episode we organized all the parts and we made sure that we have everything, and we also received the parts that we have to replace. And in this episode we're gonna start assembling everything. So enjoy. Alright, so everything is cleaned and all the discarded parts have been replaced with the new parts, and everything is in the same order as it's gonna have to be assembled. I just moved it to the side of the table because here is where we're gonna start assembling, I guess. I cleaned all the gasket surfaces here, cleaned it inside. I just didn't take these out of the packaging because I don't want to lose them. There are apparently 50 pieces, 25 are for this side, 25 are for this side. I removed the old ones from here, from inside, and we're going to show you how we're going to install them in and how we're going to drop the lay gear into the case. This pin I transferred from the old shaft because we got a new shaft for whatever reason, but that's good because this shaft now we're going to cut and we're going to make it as a dummy shaft because we need that for the reassembling. All right, so let's start assembling. So the manual says that we have to start by installing the reverse gear. So I'm gonna do the right thing here and I'm gonna just ignore that, and I'm gonna start with the lay gear because I've been planning that for days and weeks actually, how I'm gonna assemble it, so I can't wait. And I believe that it's not gonna be hard to assemble the reverse gear later. What I did is I took the old shaft and I shortened it, so you can see how much shorter it is than the new one. So I shortened it so it is the exact same length as the lay gear. You see where I'm going with that? So now we can just put grease inside here and lay all the roller bearings inside, then reverse it, do the other ones. After each one there's a washer that locks the bearings in place. So then with this dummy shaft inside, this is how we're gonna lower it in the case, and with the new shaft we're gonna push this one out, and this way the bearings are gonna stay in. Smart, eh? Well, it was my idea until I realized that everybody was doing it. But honestly, I came up with this idea before I realized that actually it was a thing that everybody was doing. For the whole assembly we're gonna use this assembly glue, which is supposedly specifically for transmissions. Now there's a little bit of confusion here. As you can see, I opened the bearings and here it says sold in 50s per bag. However, there were only 48 inside. So I divided them in 24 and 24, and I hope that this is how much goes in, because if not, I'm gonna have to use one of the old ones per side. The manual, to be honest, is not very helpful. I was really expecting a little bit more from the manual, but doesn't help a lot. So here we go. I'm gonna start stuffing them inside. Yeah, you'll see. You don't sink into the grease, I need to be able to see. Maybe I should put it all in. Okay, now we can start it. Maybe I should put one to the other side. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to put 25, so 24 is the correct number. Yes. Perfect. So now we can put this washer. Looks like 5/8 socket is the exact size for there. We have to be careful because it's gonna hit the shaft. Okay, I believe that's how far it goes. And that's it. Now let's do the other side. Oh, the shaft is trying to come out. Oh, okay. There you go. So here we're gonna do the same thing. These somehow I didn't put them tight enough, and now I don't have room for two more. Oh, okay. So with the back of this drill bit, I was able to push in between them, and now I can fit two more here, I hope. Yes. Okay. So making sure that it is below the surface, so it doesn't run into the thrust washer. I don't know how to position it so you can see. So this is for the input shaft, the biggest gear. The smallest gear is the first gear. So that's how it goes. And now we have two thrust washers here. So one is bigger, and you can see where it goes on the bigger gear. And the other one is smaller for this side. And they have these locking tabs, so they can lock in place and don't turn. So I hope you can see here. We're just gonna grab some grease, put all over the place. Of course, the bronze side goes towards the gear, the leg gear, and this is where the top locks into this hole. Hopefully it's gonna stay. Let's put the other one as well. This is driving me crazy. Let me find a way to lock this. Okay, somewhat secure. So this washer is there already. Let's put the other one as well. We'll put grease on both sides, even though it doesn't require grease on the back, but I'm just putting it for gluing purposes, so we can get locked there. Okay, and now let's lower the leg gear and hope that the washers will stay there. Like the shaft is inside, of course, holding the bearings. So this side is good, but this side, it's pushing my washer down. Ah. Okay, and then we can put this shaft in. We're gonna lubricate it nicely, and the orientation for this shaft is from back to front. Let's see if we can do that, maybe. Okay, I think we are in. The other side is gonna be tricky. What if I do this? Okay, there you go. Ha. That was actually easier than expected. Okay, and here the pin hits. Yeah, later this pin needs to be in this hole, so the shaft won't turn. So the orientation for that is down, but that we're gonna align later. Wow, look at that. Like I said, easier than expected. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put grease on all the gears, just in case, you know. And now let's see if I'm gonna regret not listening to the manual. Let's see if we can install the reverse idler. So the shaft goes this way, so we can install the locking pin from outside, and this groove is for the lever. We have to make sure that it is in it. There you go. Just trying to put the opening towards the hole on the other side for the pin to be easier to locate it. This is the pin. So let's see if we can locate that hole. Oh, I'm in the hole actually. Tighten it right away before we forget. Okay. There you go. We have reverse idler installed. Good. And the last but not least, here we have this spacer, this sleeve. Let's put it on before we forget it. Let's get it on. Okay. And the bottom end is assembled. Wow. Look at that. And you know what? I'm gonna call it a day here. And I'm gonna be back tomorrow. But for you, it's gonna be just... There you go. It's the next day. Ta-da! I told you time is gonna fly. Anyway, so where were we? Okay. So this is the hub for the first and second, and as you can see, it has this part here which is not here on this side. So it's important to figure out what the direction is. So this is our first gear, which goes against it, and this is our second gear, which goes this way. That's clear. And we also have the Synchro rings. I'm just gonna use the old ones here. So we have this one here, and we have this one that goes here for sure. So these parts, we know that that's how they fit. So we also have these thrust washers, which for first gear, for whatever reason, it is split in two, and for second gear, it is this one, which goes with the channel towards the gear. So that's how it goes. These parts, we also know that that's how they fit. The question is now, how does the hub fit? This way or this way? And let's try it this way towards first gear. If we put it like this, now our ring here is very loose. No matter how much I push, it doesn't lock, because this extension here hits our thrust washer and doesn't allow us to push actually on the Synchro ring, and it's loose. And that's what was happening with third and fourth, remember? So maybe our hub on the other part was flipped, but we will see there. So let's see what's gonna happen if we flip it around. Oops. What's gonna happen is we're gonna lose one of our half thrust washers. So that's how we had it. If we flip it around towards second gear, that's actually perfect. Now it locks. When we push against it, it locks. When we don't push, it spins. When we push, it locks. So that's how it goes. Let's try it also on this side to make sure this is working. We can remove this one now. And it is the same thing. We can see here inside that we are just against the thrust washer. And the same, if we push, it locks. If we don't push, it spins. If we flip it around, well, again it pushes, but now we have a lot of room here to our thrust washer. So that said, we know now our orientation. And let's try the same for third and fourth. And again, we have Synchro ring. Here we don't have thrust washer. Then we have the hub, which I'm not sure if it goes this way or this way, but we're gonna figure this out. Let's try it with our third gear. So here in third gear, we have this special washer, which is this one. I'm not sure how this one goes, but let's test it. Okay, so I found it in the manual. It literally says the scrolled face of the washer rearwards, which means this is rear, right? This is front, this is rear. So that's how it goes. And about the hub with this boss forward. That's how it goes. So now that we know how everything goes, we can assemble the hub assemblies first as units, and then we can start sliding everything onto the main shaft and create our gear cluster. And then hopefully we're gonna be able to put it in and put our bearings on the outside. Okay, so that's our hub for first and second, the Synchro hub. So let's put some glue on it. Then we can put our springs inside, and these are the short springs because here we have the other hub and a long spring. So you see how much longer the long spring is. That's because, again, I think I showed this, but because here we have lower profile and here we have a wider low here. So the long springs go for third and fourth hub. The short ones come here. So let's see how this is gonna work. We need to put the springs inside and the bows. So we're gonna put some grease to hold them there. I hope they're gonna stay. I keep calling it grease. It is not grease, it is assembly goo. And it's gonna disappear, like it's gonna disintegrate with the oil. It's designed for that. Okay, so now we said the boss goes towards the second gear and first gear is on this side. And this is the Synchro sleeve, which goes, again, this goes against first gear. So this orientation and this is this orientation, so now they should click together. Making sure that the bows are still there. And there you go. So this one is assembled. Let's assemble the other one too. Okay. And this sleeve doesn't have orientation. This goes either way. Go. Make sure the bows are still here. One bow, two bows, three bows. Now I can push them in. This is much harder. There you go. Okay, so it goes both ways. Good. So this is assembled as well. So now we can start putting them on the shaft. Alright, so to begin with, we have our first gear, second gear, the Synchro hub that we just assembled. We have the thrust washer for second gear, which has the scroll towards the gear, so it goes inside like this. And we have two thrust washers for both sides of first gear. So we're gonna start with this first thrust washer, which is the split one. And it comes like this in this channel. And then the first gear comes from the long side of the shaft this way, and the thrust washer is limiting it, so that's where it stops. Then we have the other thrust washer on the other side, which limits it on the other side as well. And now here we need to have the bearing and then a circlip. But I don't want to put the bearing yet because it's gonna be harder to install it in the case. But I also don't want this to move because my split washer is gonna fall apart. So that's why I'm gonna take one of the old circlips and I'm gonna put it here just to hold temporarily my gear in place. All the way. So that's normally the bearing surface here, but we're gonna take this out later. And now we can start lining up the rest. So the hub, again, with the flat part towards first and the boss part towards second. Then we have the second gear with the thrust washer inside. Don't forget that. All right, so far so good. Then we have a bushing that goes inside second gear, like that. Then we have another thrust washer. Then we have another bushing like this, which has no orientation unless you put it inside out. And then our third gear, of course, with the cone facing forward. This is where our thrust washer rides. So it comes this way, then this thrust washer, scroll towards the gear, like this. And then that circlip that gave me so much trouble taking it out. So well, let's see, hopefully it's gonna go in easy. Sorry. Okay, so it's in. And always, if it spins easy, this means it is in its channel. So this cluster is ready. Now let's do the input shaft. Here we have a needle bearing inside. And that later will fit here, so we're just gonna test fit it. Yes, it fits nicely. And it doesn't come out. So it fits nicely. Alright, so it's actually the day after. I took a little break. Have to sleep every once in a while, right? So next we're gonna assemble the input shaft. This little oil passage here, we made sure it is clean. So we have the oil thrower here, then the bearing with the groove outside, so we can put our circlip on it. Yeah. All right, so now we're ready to fit the whole cluster inside. But before we fit it in there, we shouldn't forget to put our Synchro hub for third and fourth gear. And like we said, flat part goes towards third and the boss goes towards fourth gear. And I'm hoping that we can still fit them there. Because according to the manual, all this gets assembled inside, but I don't want that. Okay, perfect. We fit it there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this piece of brass inside like that, and I'm gonna stand it. And now you remember this circlip that we put here temporarily to hold our first gear in place? Now we can remove it. There you go. And then we can take our bearing and we will see how we're gonna tap it in place, because that's gonna be tricky. That's why we put that piece of brass underneath, so we can hold the end of our shaft and we can tap the bearing. So here we have a groove, that's for the circlip. So this groove needs to be towards the outside, and maybe like this. Do I have a bigger socket? I'll just take this old thrust washer and use it here. And let's see if we can tap this in. Okay, I'm gonna put this circlip so I don't go too far. So we're gonna go on the press, and because I want to press on the outer ring, I'm gonna use this old sleeve from the Spitfire transmission that I have to go only over the outer ring here, so we don't press on the inner ring. I can use this and then the pipe with this washer. Okay, old Spitfire transmission parts to the rescue. Okay, now we can flip it around, as now we have to finish pressing this bearing on the shaft. So now I'm gonna flip this around like that, and I'm gonna flip the whole box around. Now before I forget, I'm gonna put the other Synchro ring here. There you go. And these two are the small ones. I forgot to say, first gear only is a little bit bigger, second is small, third and fourth are small too. Second, third and fourth are all the same. And now I can finish pressing the shaft inside the bearing, because now it looks like it is all the way in, but it's not, because now the first gear drops down here. Yeah, there you go. So all this room we need to get rid of. Let's see if it is gonna move now. Yes. That's it. All right, so we have the cluster in. So now we have just enough room for this last thrust washer and the new circlip. Not sure if you're gonna see from there, but it's just a circlip. Well, even though I said in the beginning of this video that this is gonna be the last part, I didn't realize that there was so much footage that I still have. Slide it in as far as I can go. There's so much details into assembling these transmissions, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna stop that video here, and I'm gonna post the last part as soon as possible, in which we're gonna see if everything is going well together, and we're gonna test it to see if it is gonna work after all. Did it work? Well, Stay tuned and we're gonna find out. So that's it guys, thanks for watching. Bye.